Look, it's her. Christina. 1, 2, 3. Great. Christina, how you feel about the pictures? I almost worked there when I first moved here. Spread the bagel. Boom, right there. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be another kind of a story time about how I became a traveler, because I always get these questions a lot, but especially lately my DMs are full and my emails are full about how the heck did I become this person who is a world traveler, and how do I afford it? How did I afford it in the beginning? How do I afford it now? And everything like that. So this is just basically going to be a story time of me telling you guys everything. To my OG subscribers, I may be sounding like a broken record, but I feel like I need to do this again in like one comprised video for everybody, you know, that has these questions, which I understand why people have the questions, because it's not so normal, I guess, for me to have accomplished so much at such a young age. So this is going to be a story time of me letting you guys know. Make sure you guys hit the notification button so you get notified when I upload a video. It's the little bell next to the subscribe button. And also make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at Maryjane Byarm, and make sure you hit subscribe, of course, so you guys can keep up and go on this crazy journey of my life that is my life. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyways, if you're interested in hearing, you know, how I became a traveler, then keep on watching. Okay, so where has this all started? Let's see. Let's start with college. So I am a musician, and I have always wanted to and still want to become a film composer. A film composer is somebody who writes soundtracks for movies. So, for example, some famous film composers are Hans Zimmer, James Newton Howard, Aaron Thigman. Those are some of my favorites, at least. John Williams. And I have always wanted to become that. I'm obsessed with that lifestyle. I'm obsessed with this heater is making noises. If you can hear the heater in here, I'm so sorry. I think it'll stop soon. Anyways, I have always been obsessed with the lifestyle of a film composer, and that's what I want to be. And it's basically, you just are the person who writes soundtracks for movies. A movie director calls you up and tells you about a movie they're interested in making, and they ask you to write the music for it. Hans Zimmer, my favorite film composer of all time. Maybe I'll play some of his short clips of some of his songs that are my favorite, and they just come up with beautiful soundtracks for movies. And he composed Lion King, he composed, you know, all these amazing movies. Interstellar, which is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. Everest, the list goes on. Inception, Time, that was him. And so that's what I want to be. That's what I was going to college for. But I was doing a lot of studying, and not just for college, but I was studying the lifestyles of all of my heroes, all of the people I want to be like. And none of them went to college, did that 4-year thing in America, you know, and then did their masters, and then went on to be these great people. None of them. And I started to look at like all of my heroes, not even just in that category, just like anybody I want to have a similar lifestyle to. All the people that are the greats to me never did what I was doing, which was just go to college and then go get your master's and then graduate with your degrees and then go be these amazing people. None of them, of the people that I look up to, they all had these incredible lifestyles. Like these, just like their lives just sounded like movies, like stories. And I'm like, that's so not me. And I was starting to get discouraged. And I'm like, I'm not feeling school anymore. I'm not feeling spending all this money, and I don't even feel like it's gonna get me anywhere. I feel like I have to be something incredible on my own to get to where I want to get, if that makes any sense. So basically, I was really, and Hans Zimmer, for example, his life was, he like dropped out of school, and they're all billionaires now. All of them, they're all billionaires and millionaires, and they all have like these crazy stories, and all of them. And Hans Zimmer, he dropped out of college and he went to go see the world. James Newton Howard dropped out of college and traveled the world. Almost all of them dropped out of college and then went to go see the world. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I have to be like, I don't feel, you know, whatever. But I was never planning to drop off college and go see the world. I just wanted a break from college so I can rearrange what I wanted in life and just figure out stuff, because I just was not feeling school at the time. I was just not feeling it. So anyways, I was going to school in Boston. So my sister, I have a sister, she's 11 months older than me. She was already living in China as a model. She originally moved to Shanghai, China, to go and learn Chinese, and then she ended up liking it, and then she ended up getting drafted as a model. So she was this big time model in China. So I was just like, I'm on my way to see my sister's. She's up in a couple of stores, her pictures, so I'm on my way to go see them before they take them down. I'm gonna meet her there as well. So yeah, that's where I'm headed. I've also been trying to vlog more, so that's why, yeah, I'm vlogging today. That's what I'm doing. And we're gonna see my sister's pictures, so yeah, I'm gonna meet her there. Christina, that's you.
Right,
You know what? I'm over her. Let's see if she's inside as well. Oh, she's inside as well. Oh my god! Look, it's her. Christina, get over here. Christina, can you get over here, please? Nothing. 1, 2, 3.
Great.
Christina, how you feel about the pictures? I think this thing turn. It's her. And right there too. Hey, look, it's Spread the Bagel. I almost worked there when I first moved here. Spread the Bagel. Boom, right there. It's a bagel joint. Well, like, you know what? I'm gonna take a break from school and I'm gonna go visit my sister in college. And I'm gonna go visit my sister over in China, because like I just need like a break. I need to get away. I need something to like re-inspire me or whatever. So I was like, I called her and I'm like, can I come see you? And she's like, yeah, come over. So I'm like, you know what, perfect. So I had taken a break from school and I was like, wait a minute. I don't have any freaking money to go to China because it's expensive. So I got a job. I did not take no for an answer. I did not look for any deals. There's a dog barking now. I did not look for anything. One thing about me is I never take no for an answer. Even if all the odds were against me for everything, I never take no for an answer. This is a key thing, I think, to doing whatever you want in life. Just don't take no. And that's always the way I've been. So I really want to go to China. And so I'm like, if I want to do stuff in life, I'm going to have to figure out how to do it. So basically, I got 3 jobs. Oh my gosh. Just thinking back to how hard that was. I had 3 jobs and they were all at factories. And one of them was working at a salad factory. So what we had to do was we worked on a conveyor belt inside of a factory, and inside the factory was freezing, like the dead of winter freezing inside of the factory. Oh my gosh. And at that factory I worked like 16 hours. 16-hour shifts. Sometimes 20-hour shifts. It depended on when they said when you could go home. Oh my gosh, it was so hard. What we had to do was sit on a conveyor belt. And I would go in with like 3 pairs of tights and sweatpants. I'd go in with like 3 camis and like 5 shirts and then like 2 hoodies and a coat and earmuffs and everything. Ski masks. A lot of the workers there wore ski masks. And we'd have to wear all this equipment on top of it, you know, because we're working with people's food. So we had to wear these gloves and we had to wear face masks and we had to wear like these, we had so much gear on. If you had seen me working in what we had to wear at work, you would not know it was me, because that's how much stuff we had to wear. And then we had to go into this, it looked like a freezer. Like, you know the freezers in like restaurants? It was literally a freezer. We had to open up, it was this big safe, open it up, and then all you saw was all this smoke coming out from like how cold it was in there. And basically it was a whole room full of conveyor belts, and then every day they assigned you to a different conveyor belt. I was always on the chicken salads conveyor belt, which was perfect because I was vegan. So I was on the chicken salad conveyor belt, and what you did was they assigned you to like a specific area. So they were like salads would just come, and we had to add like the ingredients in the little, you know, one person would put the plastic thing on top of the salad, the next person would put like the chicken and the cheese, the next person would put like the ham and the croutons, and then like it went through the machine that put the plastic on top, and then yeah. Oh my gosh. And I remember I would lose feeling in my hands for like 3 days at a time, because maybe it sounds not that hard to you, but it's such a hard job. Because imagine doing that for 16 hours straight, sometimes 20 hours straight. And there was always a clock at the end, and I hated that because I hated looking at the clock every 2 seconds, because it just felt like time went by so slow. Just putting the freaking stuff and my hands, oh my goodness. And it was such a hard job, and I couldn't do anymore because of how cold it was. So I quit that job, because I used to cry and cry after I got off my shift. Just on the ride back home, I'd just be crying because I was in so much pain, and it just was the worst job ever. So I wanted to quit that job, but the people who worked at that job were like, you have a really good work ethic. And see, what a lot of people did at that job is they'd always say, I have to go to the bathroom, and then they'd just like never come back, or they'd take like really long breaks, because like it was hard. And the floor had like this much water on it, because like food was constantly falling on the floor, and there was like the cleaning people that worked at that factory would just take these giant buckets of water and just splash them on the floor, so the water would build up. So like during work, we'd have to wear big water boots because you're standing in like this much water. The reason why I worked at these factory jobs is because I would do so many hours. Once you doubled over in your hours, I forget, once you worked more than a certain amount of hours, you got paid double. So what would happen was I'd work these incredibly long shifts, so that most of the shifts, and every hour I worked over, I think like 40 hours. Every hour that I worked over 40 hours that week, I'd get paid double time. So I was making good money with these factory jobs, which is why I was doing it. So I couldn't do the cold job anymore. So I'm like, no, I can't do this cold job anymore. So the people who worked there were like, we have an opportunity if you want to work in a factory that is hot. And I was like, that sounded like heaven to me. I was like, it's hot? They're like, yeah, it's a factory that makes hot food, so it's hot in the factory. Wasn't thinking straight. And I just took it because I'm like, that sounds like heaven, just because I was so used to working in the cold job. So I switch over to the donut factory, and it was heaven the first day because I'm like, it's warm in here, this is amazing. But then I was like, oh no, this is the same job, just warm. And it sucked because it was so hot. And those shifts were even longer. Sometimes I'd work more than a day. Sometimes I'd work 26-hour shifts, and I'm not lying. And that job was nothing but like illegal immigrant and ex-convicts, so criminals. So because that job didn't check if you had a criminal record, so a lot of people who were ex-convicts, people who had went to jail, worked in that factory. So it was all men. I was basically like one of the only women. So because it was a hard job, it was very labor intensive. Sometimes we had to carry these giant crates of donuts like onto the trucks that would take the donuts out, you know. It was so hard. Oh my gosh. And they always called me the moon girl at that factory because it was so disgusting, because a lot of people that worked there were dirty. So a lot of ex-convicts, a lot of people who have come from jail, you know, a lot of people who have trouble getting jobs in other places would work there because they hire anybody. So there were some really dirty people working there, and the break room had bed bugs. I can't even like think about that. So the break room had bed bugs. So all of the workers, the only place to go for your break was the break room, right? And there was even a sign on the door that said, this break room has bed bugs, because a lot of people would work there like 40-hour shifts sometimes, like straight 40 hours of working, because, you know, their work ethic is, you know. And a lot of the ex-convicts as well, the, you know, ex-criminals would sleep there sometimes. So a lot of people had like covers and pillows dirty in the break room, and there was bed bugs in there. And there was a sign on the door that said bed bugs, and I was like, oh no, where am I supposed to take my break? Because like when you work 26 hours, you need a break. And we'd get 2 breaks, and both breaks were 3 hours, or no, both breaks were, one break was 1 hour, the other break you could take for 3 hours, but you couldn't, you know, you couldn't add them up. So my break, I would go outside, and they would always tell me like, do not take your break outside, because a lot of ex-convicts, a lot of people coming straight from jail are around here, and it's not safe to be outside at 3 o'clock in the morning, because I would take my break at 3 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I'd take one break at 11 p.m. and I'd take my other break at 3 o'clock in the morning. And they were like, don't go outside because you're by yourself. And I was like, but there's nowhere else for me to take my break. I'm not taking my break in the break room. I'm not going to the break room. It has freaking bed bugs. Anyways, the job was so hard. I remember I had deep cuts, deep in my stomach, like all right here was always cut up, because that factory also made bagels, and there was this machine that shook the bagels out, because I don't know why, but it was a shaking machine, and when the bagels were done, it would like shake them out. I think it was like shaking the excess stuff off the bagels. And then one of my jobs was to like align the bagels to make sure they'd go into like the last process smoothly, and none of them were like sitting up this way. I had to make sure all the bagels were laying down flat, so I had to lay over, like my stomach was laying over the part of the machine that shook really hard, and it was made out of metal. So like by the end of my shifts, I had these deep cuts, all bloody, scabby, and they never had the chance to heal, because the next day I'd go into work and I had to lay over. I'm not long enough to like not lay over it. So, oh my goodness. And then that job saw how good of a worker I was. I never complained. I never like lied and said like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom all the time just to take breaks, and which a lot of people did. So they gave me a promotion to QC, which was like the best thing ever. Quality control, where I didn't have to do anything but walk around with a clipboard and make sure everybody else was doing their job. And of course, when I became QC, everybody hated me. Like I was cool with everybody before that, but after that, everybody hated me, because like everybody hates QC, you know, because you just get paid more than everybody. You get paid like triple what everybody else is making, and all you have to do is walk around and check that bagel needs more glaze, or so hard. But from those, I worked so hard for so long, and I saved every cent because I had a goal, I had a dream, and I was gonna make it happen. I don't take no for an answer, ever. So I saved all my money, and then the beautiful quitting day finally came around. That was one of the best days of my life, quitting day. And it was an amazing feeling, quitting and then leaving for China. So basically I quit, had all my cash saved up for my move to China, and that's how I started my travel journey. Basically, I moved to China, and at first I loved the feeling of, I had never left America before then at all, I don't think. Oh, I went once to Toronto when I was 17. But before that, and I was 18 or 19. I was 19 at this time. And the only time before that I had ever left America was when I went to Toronto for a music competition. But that's not, like, oh, I'm in a foreign country type of feeling. Toronto is not that feeling if you're, from America. So it was the first time I had been out of the continental America, and it was like the best feeling ever. I loved being abroad. It felt so, how do I explain it? I felt very at home. I felt like this is how this is my calling. This is how I'm meant to be. That's how it felt. Some people go abroad and they freak out. Most people. And they're like, I don't like this. I don't like, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? Where it felt very natural to me. And so the type of visa I was on was, it was every 30 days I had to leave China at first. I eventually got my visa changed when I started going to school in Shanghai, but first my visa was, I had a 10-year visa, so I can leave, I can go and come to China as I please for 10 years until I get it renewed again. But every 30 days I have to leave. So even if I go to another country for 20 minutes and come right back to China, I can do that as long as I leave China every 30 days. I can come right back. I just have to cross the border. So what I would do is every 30 days, since I had to leave China on that visa, and I was planning on staying in China for at least a year, or at least 6 months, but I ended up staying way longer than a year or 6 months. I ended up staying for like almost 3 years. Oh, 2 years I stayed. I would turn those every 30 days I would change those into little vacations, because traveling around Asia, once you're in Asia, is really cheap. So my flying to like Tokyo, and that's when I fell in love with Tokyo. I'd fly to Tokyo, super cheap flight. I'd fly to South Korea, Seoul, super cheap flight. Thailand, super cheap flight. I'd fly to Hong Kong, super cheap flight. Sometimes I'd take a train to Hong Kong, which is a different country. A lot of people think it's the same. It's a different country from China. Different language, different borders, everything. I'd fly to all around Asia, and I'd turn them into little trips, because I'm like, hey, I have to leave China anyways. Why don't I just make little tiny trips out of them? And so that's what I did, and by myself, because my sister, she worked a lot, so she never came with me. I'd go to all these places by myself completely, and I just fell in love with the lifestyle. I'm like, this is who I'm meant to be. This traveler, this person who's out here on her own, seeing, being very adventurous. This is who I am. This is me, okay? I was like, what is taking so long for me to get to this point? So that is how I became a traveler. And then eventually I got a job in China, working at a club to make some extra money. And then I started YouTube. Everybody was telling me, you need to start a YouTube channel, but I wasn't listening to anybody for the longest time, because I'm just like, everybody has a YouTube channel. I'm not going to stick out, like anything like that. A lot of Chinese people were telling me, please start a YouTube channel and please make videos about our beautiful country and let people know that China is not so bad as it is portrayed, in America especially, and let people know that you love it, and let people know that you have, people are nice to you here, because I don't think people know that. And, I think it would mean a lot coming from you, your opinion on China. So I'm like, I guess I can. And the people are like, you know, you have a really interesting life. You should really start a YouTube channel. So I never started it because I'm like, oh, I want to make this my job as a traveler. Never. I started it because I'm like, you know what, I think it would be cool, and I like the creativity of it and everything like that. So now YouTube is my job, which is crazy. So it's how I'm able to keep going as a traveler. By making travel videos is how I travel. So that's everything in the nutshell, guys. It's not that, it's not some crazy, you know, big story about, you know, anything. It's quite simple, and anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. Anybody can have anything they want in life. You just have to go do it. Go do it. Don't take no for an answer. I never take no for anything I want. I never take no for an answer. There are people looking at me, trying to figure out why I'm filming myself in the window. The neighbors.